This is Paul Newman with the Cashflow Cafe podcast. Today we have Coach Rodney Hennon here on our show. I'm excited to have you on, Coach. In 1 minute or less, tell us about yourself.
Oh, well, first of all, appreciate you having me, Paul. 1 minute. Well, I'm the youngest of three kids. Was born in Dalton, Georgia, up in North Georgia.
Carpet capital of the world.
That's right. My dad was in the carpet business for years. Actually started out as a coach, teacher and coach before he got into the carpet business, but went to Dalton High School. Had a great experience, great childhood growing up, great community there, just like here in Statesboro, and went to school at Western Carolina, where I had a chance to play baseball for two great coaches, Jack Leggett and the late Keith LeClaire. After college, met my wife, Kim, my best friend growing up. Go down to visit him at Auburn. He introduces us, and we started dating, and ended up been married. Just had our 28th anniversary.
Nice.
3 kids, all out of the house now. So this
empty nesters.
Empty nesters for the second year here, but been blessed with 3 great children: Walker, Keely, and Carter, and been fortunate to be a part of this community for, I guess, going on 26 years now here in Statesboro and being at Georgia Southern.
Now, have you been the head coach for 26 years here? I know you've been a head coach for a long time here. Were you a head coach prior to Georgia Southern as well?
Yeah, this will be my 26th season here at Georgia Southern. Prior to that, when I finished at Western Carolina, I spent about 10 years there between my time in school. And then when I first got into coaching, I had an opportunity to go back there as an assistant coach for Keith LeClaire. And then Keith took the East Carolina job. That was the summer of 97 after the season. I took over and was the head coach at Western for 2 years before having the opportunity to come here.
That's awesome. And you've done such a great job, continued success. I feel like, I don't know how many winning seasons you have. You probably know that stat, but it's very impressive what you've done here, Coach. So tell us some reasons that you love, why you love Statesboro, and what's kind of the special things that makes Georgia Southern and Statesboro a great place to be.
Well, and I touched on it earlier. I mean, it's a great community, first and foremost. And, I mentioned we have 3 kids. We've been blessed, especially in this profession. Typically there's a lot of movement. And as a kid, I grew up in a great community, Dalton, Georgia, never had to move, never had to experience that.
Right.
So when we came to Statesboro, our oldest Walker, he wasn't even walking yet. And so we've never had to move with our kids, been able to raise three children here. Great friends in this community, great support, and love Georgia Southern. Love everything that our university is about. Georgia Southern athletics. We got a passionate fan base, as you well know. You're one of those. You're one of those.
That's it.
That's a part of Eagle Nation, and having that support, and just being at a place where there's so many people that care and want to see you do well and have success. That's the biggest thing I think that drew me here.
It's for those of you that have not been to the stadium, it's still J.I. Clements. Is that correct? That's still the name of the stadium, and it's it's just the setting of it, the pine trees in the background, and kind of our own, what I would call the green monster, which I guess we could call it the blue monster. It's just, it's really got a very unique setting. Our stadium is full and packed. The baseball games are usually just really fun. Tell us just about maybe this upcoming season, and also about the exciting new projects that we have, Coach.
Yeah, well, one thing you touch on, you mentioned J.I. Clements. One thing, there's so much history and tradition with the program, going back to J.I. Clements and then the Jack Stallings years. Ron Polk was here for 3 years, 2 teams going to Omaha, 73 team under Coach Polk, and then the 1990 team under Coach Stallings. So a lot of real baseball history and tradition here, and the program has always been supported very well. But we're really excited about what's coming up with the renovations. It's funny, over the holidays, I spent a lot of time moving out of my office because we're in the Parish building now. I'm actually in Chad Willis's old office. He moved over to Hennon. But we're getting ready for the renovations, the demolition phase of the Wiggins building that has served the program so well for, I guess since the late 90s and the Wiggins family. I was actually at Western Carolina when that building was under construction, and that, people don't realize that was a big deal back then to have an on-campus clubhouse. And it's been a great facility for our program, but as you know, over years,
stuff gets
you
dated.
Got to continue to move forward,
right.
and so we got a $10 million renovation plan that'll feature new offices for our coaching staff, a new locker room, we'll have a nutrition area, a designated team meeting room, indoor cages on the bottom, an indoor mound that'll be basically serve as a pitching lab with all the technology we need to help with development, new training room, umpires room, and some really cool amenities for our fans. We'll have some box seating up top, tailgate suites that'll be a similar look to what you see over at the Tippins
definitely
facility.
Getting the tailgate suite. I'm
with
definitely
the grills, that going along the left field line. So just add to what is already what I feel like is one of the best atmospheres in the Southeast at J.I. Clements.
I agree. It's I live in town. It's only a 1 mile for me to go to the games and to pull up and just feel like you're at such a high quality. But to me, I always reiterate, living in a college town, getting to go to these high, impact sporting events, and just it's great competition, great, and you can't beat it. You cannot beat this town and pulling up, not fighting Atlanta traffic or some of these other places, and pulling up and watching something good quality like y'all put on.
No, you're right, and it's easy to take that for granted sometimes, until you drive through Atlanta. I mean,
that's right.
That used to not bother me when I was younger. Now I can't stand the traffic. But it's big time college athletics across the board in every sport. And in our sport, in baseball, the Sun Belt has really become one of the top 5 conferences in the country, and it's fun to be a part of it.
Yeah, to watch some of this talent come in here, it's fun, and I love taking my whole family. Coach, what's your, after all these years and you've been winning and produced so many successful programs, what still motivates you? What is your motivation at this stage of your life, and why is that?
Well, I look back at my experience as a student athlete in college, and I wouldn't trade that experience for anything in the world. I played for 2 great coaches that I think were even better men and role models, mentors to me. Jack Leggett, who after he left Western Carolina, he actually left after my sophomore year to take over at Clemson, and he's a Hall of Fame coach there. He's retired now, and then the late Keith LeClaire, who I got my coaching start under, and unfortunately we lost Keith at an early age to Lou Gehrig's disease. He really kind of got things rolling over at East Carolina, which is a really good program, one of the top programs in the country now, and Keith kind of got things started there. But I look back at that experience, and the great thing about athletics is, as you know, Paul, so many lessons you learn through sports that I think apply to everyday life,
100%.
And the adversity that you go through, but being a part of a team and working through those tough times with other people, just wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. And in my role as a coach now, I want to provide that same kind of experience for the guys that come through our program, where hopefully they look back at it and appreciate the good times, but also appreciate the tough times that they go through, that they can carry on with them and into whatever it is that they choose to do, and help them, be better people.
And there's a lot of adversity you have to walk some of these players through. I mean, there's a lot of players on your team, and only 9 people see the field, and sometimes you're on the bench or sitting for 2-3 years, and you're biding your time, and you've got to work people through that. Hey, you got to keep working hard. There's a reason that you're not the guy or whatever, and that's hard. So I mean, that shows. I would love being a coach, because I'm a person that likes to motivate and walk people through stuff. So I mean, I'm sure that's probably, and it's probably hard too. It's probably not an easy thing to tell somebody that.
No, and I know you would agree in anything you do in life, whether it's business or coaching. The biggest thing is just trying to treat people right, be honest with people, and sometimes being honest is not always an easy thing to do. Some of the news that you have to give, but again, the great thing about sports, and you look at our world today, we all want things right now, and some of the most rewarding things in life are sometimes some of the things that don't happen exactly on our time when we want it, and that's one lesson of so many that I think you can learn through sports. You got to earn what you get out there. The best players are going to play. Nobody's
going to give it to you. You got to earn it.
And it's the same way in business.
100%.
I talk to a lot of people like yourself that are employers now, and one thing that I hear a lot is, a lot of times kids coming out into the workforce, they expect to be making that high salary right out of the gate right away, and don't understand that there's a starting point and you got to work your way up. And it's the same way when you're a part of a team, and again, I think that's one lesson that hopefully can help people as they move on. Into
my starting point was 0 for 6 months. I worked in real estate field, and literally, I showed up at the office every day, and literally for 6 whole months was there looking, learning, watching. No paycheck. In real estate, as a real estate professional, you only get paid if you sell something. So 6 months later, I had finally made a sale, and it was like $400. I was like, man, I could do this, So it, it just takes time. Some things that, the thing that scares me about this NIL setup is the NIL, I'm a little worried that it's like, all right, I didn't play this year, and, I'm that good, I need to go in or whatever, and they may have a better opportunity. But this NIL has probably flipped the college world on its head.
Yeah, we could talk all day about this. And
where do you think it's headed? Let's touch on that, because we can't change it, right? It's here.
I don't know.
But do you have any predictions on?
I don't know. I think the intent behind it, and I get it. Look, as a kid growing up, I use this example a lot. You think about Herschel Walker. At that time in the early '80s, probably the premier college football player. Well, because of rules, was unable to go out and market himself and make money.
God, how much money would have Herschel Walker made in these days?
At least legally. I mean, we don't know what he might have got.
Exactly.
But he didn't have the ability to do that. So the intent behind it was, hey, why should you hold a guy back?
Right.
But what it's turned into, more or less, as we know, it's turned into pay for play, more or less, and it's almost a professional model now. One thing you don't hear people talk about anymore is nobody talks about education anymore, and the fact that
there's still
what's the value of a college degree. So, it is what it is, and with anything in life, you have to adapt as things move along. But I think we're all still trying to figure it out. I don't know if anyone is sure where we're headed with this, but again, it's here, and it's our job to adapt and make the best of it. But what I don't want to get lost in all this are those lessons that we talked about, as we started this
I think
podcast.
If I was in your shoes, I think the frustrating thing for me, if I was a coach, is like, man, this guy's definitely good, and he's good enough in a couple years to play with me, or play for me, and you build this relationship, and then 1 year out, they may have a good relationship with you and go, you know what, this team over here told me I'm gonna play, and they're gonna pay me X, and it's like, man, I don't know, I just feel like they're not seeing through the process. And I know I want them to go make money too, but I just feel like there's some like, sorry, I'm out.
Yeah, absolutely. I want kids to be able to be taken care of, get what they can get if they're able to. What I don't want to see get lost in all this is the value of what it's like to be a part of a team and be a part of an organization and just not putting the individual in front of the team. And I can tell you that's one thing within our program. We work really hard at that. And I think we have some really good leadership within our clubhouse, some guys that understand that appreciate that. And that's something, regardless of what the rules are, the climate that we're dealing with, we're going to continue to work as hard as we can on teaching those lessons.
Tell us the name, Coach, upcoming baseball season that maybe none of us have heard of in the program that's really going to make an impact this year that you're excited about.
Well, we got a lot of new faces on the roster. I think you guys will see that right away. But, probably on the pitching staff, we lost some experienced guys last year, and there's some talented guys that are new to the program that I feel like will be able to step in and play big roles. Cade Grundy is a graduate transfer from the University of Louisville.
Okay.
Experienced guy playing at a high level of baseball that I think will have an opportunity to make a real impact. Thomas Burke is a true freshman.
Nice.
6'6", lefty.
Wow. Pitcher?
Pitcher.
Wow.
And
6'6" lefty. Okay.
Yeah, high upside, high ceiling. Had a really good fall, worked really hard. Another big, tall lefty, Javar Martin, right there with Thomas, 6'6".
Wow.
It was a transfer from South Carolina.
saw
Those are three names that I think on our pitching staff that
Get the tone
have an
set
opportunity to make an impact right away.
That's awesome. Coach, what would you say that you in your day-to-day that you spend the most money on that you wish you could kind of cut back on? Where do you think, like, in terms of saving, for the audience, and where are you spending money that, like, man, I feel like it just goes out the window?
Oh, man. Well, we've still got 3 kids now. Now our oldest,
yes, there you go.
Our oldest is married. He's employed.
He's off the payroll.
Our daughter's employed, but Carter, our youngest, he's at Georgia Southwestern, still in school. So outside of them, of course, that's different when you're talking about your kids. Just me personally, we probably spend money just eating out, or I could save here and there, but at the same time, we're empty nesters now, so we
might be able to get back to saving some. Yeah, I mean, the kids kind of make it just flow out. It just seems to flow out. Now, the empty nester stuff, you may get close to actually being able to save and not spend for the kids.
But no, we're probably better in terms of spending money than maybe I was when I was a little bit younger.
That's it. Well, and going out to eat now is not cheap, so that's definitely probably an area that everybody kind of leaks. What is an investment that you feel like that you've either in business or, something that you've seen that's been successful that you could, that you'd repeat?
Yeah, I guess for me personally, one that, financially was a good thing, but more important just from a life standpoint. I had an opportunity years ago when we first moved here to actually get involved in a real estate partnership. We live out at Beaumont Plantation, and friends of mine, Bill Howard, Randy Childs. Randy was my neighbor across the street out when we lived out at Old Mill years ago. But Bill was the guy that kind of came up with that concept of developing.
That neighborhood turned out so great, and y'all have got really good people in there.
And the cool thing about it, and Bill's kind of concept behind it, we all had young kids at the time, and just kind of envisioned a place where we could all
let them out and play and have fun,
play out in the yard, play out in the street, not worry about it. So seeing our kids grow up out there and be a part of that, I mean, financially it was a success for everyone involved, but I think more importantly, just raising our families out there together, that was pretty special.
I think for. Sometimes you hear these different influencers say, I would never buy a house. I don't, that you get all this dumb advice, in my opinion. I think you're tried and true buying your family house to raise your family in, and you let time do its thing. I mean, arguably when, we won't get into what you paid and all that stuff, but, if you hold on to real estate long enough, it's got a potential to double pretty easily from what you initially got in if you're long enough. They say it's double every 15 years. And I can tell you from 2020 to now, a lot of people, if you bought 2020 or before, even 2021, you've almost hit a 40% gain on what the property's worth. It is, real estate in this county has exploded. So I always truly think that real estate is one of the safest, best investments you can make. So how would you say that, this is probably more the NIL stuff, but how has the Georgia Southern and the baseball and your coaching kind of changed in the last couple of years? What kind of different things are you having to adapt to?
Well, again, just I think the biggest thing has been the transfer portal.
The transfer portal.
I
mean, what time now? I know football's kind of this weird time, which I think is going on right now. But is baseball lined up the same way or no?
Yeah, baseball. There are two windows.
Two windows
where guys can go in the portal. One, is after fall practice ends. I guess that was early December when the portal opened, and then there'll be another opening after the season, after your conference tournaments, postseason, that time of the year during the summertime. And what people forget is kids have always been able to transfer.
Right.
When I first started coaching, a player could transfer,
but you had to sit out.
But there was a process you had to go through,
and it's aggravating.
You had to get a release. You had to go in, sit down with a coach. You had to ask for your release. The athletic department had to grant the release, and it was a one-time transfer. And you could limit it. You could say, all right, we'll give you a transfer, but you can't go to another school
rival
in the Sun Belt
school or something. Okay.
So you had a little bit of control over it. And again, it was a one-time transfer. If you didn't get that release, you could still transfer, but you had to sit out
a year or whatever.
So now it's just easy. And again, we've kind of drifted toward a professional model in college athletics.
How many transfers do you get now? Is it 2 or is it capped at 2? Like, I feel like, Ali, can you transfer every year if you want to?
That's where I was going with that. When I say we drifted toward, there's no limit.
There's no limit of the transfers.
If you think about professional sports, you have free agency, but you're not a free agent every year.
Right.
You
can't. That's right.
So I don't know.
Maybe that'll help.
I don't know where this is going. If eventually it'll lead to some kind of collective bargaining agreement.
You just would hope. I mean, for a fan, right? You're a coach. I'm a fan. I can't. One thing I loved is, especially with basketball, you see these guys when you start them off as a freshman and junior and senior year, and like they grow on you and you learn the player and that kind of stuff. But it's like, every year transfer, you can't even get used to the team. You don't know the players and that kind of stuff. So that's a disheartening thing for the fans.
Again, I go back to what I said earlier, the team part. Every program has great stories. One just recently for us, I'll use, he's on our staff. He's a grad assistant. Sam Blancato finished his senior year.
Great player
for us. Great player for us. Sam's story. Sam was a walk-on initially when he came into our program, had a place in our program, and we told him, hey, Sammy, you can come in, be a part of it. There's a good chance you may redshirt the first year, which he did the first season, and then that next year played a little bit, and then the following year we have an injury. He makes his way in the lineup, sparks our team, and the rest is history. He never comes out of the lineup the rest of his career here. So part of our program for 5 years. What I worry about with where we're going with all this, and now we have roster caps as well. It's harder to take a chance on a Sam Blancato now because you're going to be limited on how many guys you can bring into your program.
So, Coach, is it almost harder? I mean, baseball is such a competitive space as it is, but is it almost harder for the high school kid to kind of crack his way in because of the?
Yeah, they've probably felt the blunt of all this the most.
Right.
They're because of the portal and teams being able to go and grab a more experienced, proven player out of the portal. It's probably reduced some opportunities for high school players, coming into the Division I level. For us, we've been active in the portal. We've got some really good players out of the portal, and I think you have to be. At the same time, what I don't want to lose, the foundation of our program has been the high school player over the years, guy that's come in and developed. And we don't want to lose that. I think that's got to remain our foundation. We'll still be active in the portal, and of course, we've always had some really good junior college players that have come in as well and had success. And the tough thing in baseball, and you see it all the time over the years. It doesn't happen at the same rate for every kid, every player. Kids mature, develop at different rates. Sometimes that high school guy's not ready for this level of baseball, where maybe he goes to a junior college for a year or two, gets physically bigger and stronger, plays at a higher level, and then he's ready to come in and have success at the D1 level.
So that was me. I just needed more time, Coach. I mean, I needed more time. I was, I loved baseball. I mean, I grew up playing, and my last at bat was against Kyle Davies, strike three. Played for the Braves and all that kind of fun stuff. Had a bunch of scouts at the game. I was like, man, if I could just get me a hit, they're gonna be looking at me. But no, it was strike three. That was my last at bat. But
there's a lot of guys who could probably say that about Kyle Davies.
Yeah. Well, I struck out 5 times my senior year. He got me for 3, and we played really good high level competitive baseball. And I just didn't have the drive to whether to try to play for a small school or whatever. And it's just, if you're not ultimately super driven, this baseball world will chew you up and spit you out. And it's a hard world, but it's rewarding when you can make it and crack the lineup.
No question. You got to love it. And, I tell people all the time to whether it's baseball, any sport in college, to be a student athlete, you really got to love it. The commitment, the time commitment that goes into it. Really, the only thing to compare to the time that goes into it would be if you're working a full-time job right, while you go through school. Well,
that's why. I mean, of course, I'd love for my kids to play college sports one day, but I'm definitely going to have that talk and say, look, unless you love it, don't do this for anybody else. You better love this thing because it's just not worth it. I'd rather you just go have fun if it's, So loving it and being obsessed and that kind of stuff is a big deal. Coach, shed some, this is such a hot topic. This will probably get us a bunch of hits on social media. Tell me about the travel ball world. What's your thoughts as a college coach and all this stuff and I'm guilty of it. So I am a travel ball dad, and we try not to play that many tournaments, but inevitably, I don't know. I guess my youngest will probably play 4 or 5 tournaments. My oldest will probably play 8 or 9. So if you add up the games, 3 games a tournament, 8 or 9 tournaments, I don't know, 30-something games. It's not terrible, but where's your thoughts on the travel ball world? Because it's getting out of control a little bit.
Yeah. And again, that's something that's changed over the years as well. Well, one, I will say this. Kids have more access nowadays than ever before to teaching and training that's available out there to help them development. I'm a big believer. I like if a kid has an interest in playing, whether it be football, basketball, soccer, other sports, multiple sports. I'm a big believer in that. I think
the focus on one
you can
is
still develop as a baseball player and not feel like you got to be playing all fall and all summer. We've got our banquet coming up February 7th. Tim Hudson
get some tickets. Tim Hudson, let's go support the Eagles.
Evening with the All-Stars, but you look at a lot of those guys that have come in and spoken over the years. I think of Chipper Jones, John Smoltz. We had those guys.
Chipper's got some really good viewpoints on it.
And they all say the same thing. They played multiple sports growing up and felt like it also helped them in their development as baseball players. So I think what happens nowadays, you have these fall leagues, you have everything going on. Parents sometimes feel the pressure that their kid's going to fall behind if he's not playing 12 months a year. And you don't have to do that. The other thing that, now, again, playing on a good summer travel team, especially when you get to the high school level.
When in your mind does it get to like my son's 10, right? So I'm like, I want him to play and I want him to play for good teams, but what age would you say, all right, you got to heat up at this age and really try to put yourself in the best spot?
Obviously, when they get into high school, I think they definitely want to be playing
playing on your high school team, but on the summer, trying to find the best possible teams.
I don't know that when kids are 11, 12 years old, they've got to be going crazy. It's good to play in the summer, but you want them to be ready to want to go back.
Well, my son loves the game. My youngest, he's out there. He don't care really, but I want him to love it and I don't want him to burn him out. So I'm trying to be mindful of the quote unquote burnout, so he plays other sports and does stuff like that. But it's I tell a lot of people, you can't make a major leaguer at 10 years old. You can't make it. You don't even know what genetically, is he going to sprout up? I'm only 5'10". If he gets to 5'10", and now if he goes to 6'2", 6'3", that'd be a big help, So you don't know that when they're 10, 11, 12 years old.
No, and you don't know where a kid's going to, at the end of the day, if a kid, like we talked about earlier, they got to love to play. You don't ever want them to lose that love for the game. And, as they get older, I think they kind of figure it out, how much they really want to play. And you gotta, I've got two boys. I never wanted for them to feel like they had to play because dad was a coach. I never tried to force them, hey, we got to go to the cages and hit. Usually it ended up them grabbing asking, me saying, hey, Dad, let's go hit. And, I joke about my youngest, Carter. I can remember trying to get him to go into the weight room at a certain age and kind of having to pull him in, and he wasn't ready for it. So I backed off. Back. And what ended up happening now, he lives in there. I can't get him out of there.
Love it.
I'm really
He's
proud
a big kid too.
I mean, I'm proud of the work he's put in him. He's totally transformed his body, but it wasn't Dad dragging him in there.
Coach, how tall are you? 5'10", 5'11"?
I would. I'm 5'9" with my shoes on the ball.
All right,
stretch as much as I can.
So you're 5'9". I mean, that's a perfect example. Like, but look at your son. He's got, for whatever reason, he shot up because he's what? He's 6'2"?
He's about 6'2".
Yeah, I mean, that's a good height for a baseball player. But you wouldn't have been able to predict that he probably would have been, or maybe he's always been a big kid, but it's like, man, out of nowhere.
Kim's brother's about 6'5". So,
that helps.
Yeah.
That helps.
He didn't get it from the Hennon side, I promise you.
Well, that's awesome. But, it's neat as a dad going through baseball and taking my boys to Georgia Southern games and just watching them, chase their dreams a little bit and trying to encourage. I'm just here to encourage. I love baseball, and it's always been. So it's really neat to have you on the show. We'll get this wrapped up. What advice would you give your younger self? What would you tell your younger self?
Oh man. I would say probably slow down, take it all in, talking about kids, people tell you all the time, man, it goes by fast,
and you just saw it.
Yeah,
just blinked.
Yeah, and there's so much truth in that, but you got to be motivated, you got to work, but just I think now as I get older, hopefully, I'm a work in progress on all this, but try to be more aware of other people around you. It's easy to get
tunnel vision consumed with, and I still fight that. By no means am I where I need to be, but probably a little better than I was when I was younger. That's it. Do you drink coffee? How do you like your coffee, Coach? Are you a coffee man?
Well, I'm a big Dunkin' Donuts guy.
Yeah.
And
you sit in the line? Do you sit in that Dunkin' Donuts line?
I got the mobile app. That's the way to go.
Okay, I got you.
So
that Fair Road line is ridiculous.
No, I'm usually an extra large hot coffee with 2 creams.
2 creams.
Dunkin' Donuts.
Okay, I got it. Okay. All right, so if you had an extra 100 laying under the mattress or wherever you would keep it, what would you do? What would you think you'd want to possibly invest in? If you said, man, I'd put it at $100,000 in what? What would it be?
Well, if I had that, I'm sitting here with a real estate guy. We're just talking about it. Probably real estate would be
perfect
safe
answer, Coach. Let's go buy some real estate. That's right. I give this example like a gazillion times, but I always ask people, like, if you had $200,000 to invest, and you watched it grow for 15 years in the stock market, what would you hope it'd be? And most people go, I don't know, maybe $500,000, maybe more than double. So I said, well, let's play the same game with real estate. If you had an extra $200,000, you could technically buy $1 million piece of property. And if you put it on a 15-year note, because I just gave a 15-year example, then it'd be paid off. So that 200 turns into $1 million. And hold on, what if it doubled, like we talked about earlier in the show, if the real estate actually doubled? So your $200,000 turned into $2 million. So nobody can convince me that real estate is not truly the best avenue to park extra money. So there you go.
That's a nice pitch.
That's
right there.
it. What would you say you waste the most time on, Coach?
Waste some. Oh, well, my wife would answer this for you. Probably too much time in front of the TV. Yeah.
Are you watching sports? Are you Netflix?
Sports.
Are you watching shows?
I'm usually watching the news or sports.
News or sports. Yeah. Okay, I got you. Well, I'll tell you a good movie to watch. It's called The Forge. Anybody listening to this is awesome. You should
saw that movie.
It was great. Did you like it?
Movie. Yeah, we went with some friends when it was out at the theater.
Oh, at the theater.
Yeah,
man, it was so good. And they're playing it on Netflix now. I've been telling everybody. I've been telling all the coaches. Like I called Coach Helton. I was like, man, and Coach Henry is like, you need to have your team watch this. It was, I mean, it was really, really powerful. So anyhow, if anybody's listening to this, watch the movie with your family. It's a really good movie. Coach, it was awesome to have you on the show. I'm excited about Southern baseball. You've just been a proven winner for our program. You had, I don't know, how many winning seasons have you had?
Oh man.
Because you probably only you had many losing seasons that I can remember.
Yeah. Well, we've had, I guess it was one losing season, one, maybe two.
I mean, so yeah, of all your years coaching,
we've been fortunate, and again, I've had a lot of great players, great coaches over the years, and great support from the administration here and the community. And perfect example is what we've got planned coming up with the renovations. Just so excited about
the project. Get involved, donate and help. That facility is going to be, just A+. This could be our nicest thing that we have.
And again, I don't know that people really realize what that's going to be till you actually see it. I mean, it is going to be super nice, and I think people are going to love it. And but I appreciate you having me on, Paul. Appreciate your friendship. Appreciate what you do to support Georgia Southern and the Statesboro community. And looking forward to February 14th. That's opening night.
First game. Check it out. Thank you so much, Coach. Have a great day.